We're taking a look back at 2019, and from scandal to celebration, it was a busy year for the royal family. To help us look back at the biggest stories surrounding the British monarchy, I want to bring in royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, who joins me now from our London studio. Good morning, good day. Glad you could be with us to talk about the year in review. And let's start with arguably the happiest royal news of the year. May 6th, the royal family got a little bigger when Harry and Meghan gave birth to Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor, or baby Archie's, as he's now called. Was this in any way, Richard, an unconventional royal birth?
Oh, I think it was unconventional in the sense that Archie being seventh in line to the throne and Harry being the sixth, there was no reason for Meghan to pose as Kate, who is the future queen, does outside the hospital. But indeed it was unconventional because it was rumoured that Meghan would have preferred a home birth, and also the details as to where the baby was born were not released. It was therefore their wish very clearly, and Harry has been so definite on this year that they have as much privacy as possible. Indeed, it was a happy occasion, of course. And there's no doubt also that the subsequent photograph, the group photograph with the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh and also Meghan's mother Doria, was one for the history books, but also the way that the press has handled the way we heard of the birth. In fact, this began what I can only describe as a very unfortunate series of events, the christening being the next, and Meghan's guest editorship of Vogue the next, which led to a widening, a gulf between the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and the press. That's yes. The serious royal commentators as well as the tabloids.
Yeah, and some of it we knew about, some of it was very, very public. A lot of it, though, gossip about the way she treated her staff, rifts with the rest of the royal family. But it did come to a head when Harry and Meghan launched that lawsuit against 3 tabloids, which, to complicate matters even further, was announced when they were on tour with the media.
This was absolutely extraordinary. It's completely unprecedented. What has emerged from these months, as you mentioned, there were rumours of rifts between the Duchesses, feuds between William and Harry, and all of this, the way she was treating her staff, emails being sent at odd times, all of this was in the realm of rumour. They had an immensely successful tour of southern Africa. Harry was following in Diana's footsteps. Meghan was in her element. It was absolute perfection until the end, when they ruined it, in my opinion, by Harry releasing a very strong statement against the British tabloids, Meghan launching a lawsuit, then Harry subsequently more lawsuits, and then the mistake, again a very bad mistake in my opinion, the ITV documentary about their Southern African visit. Harry gave credence to reports of a rift between the brothers, saying they were taking different paths, they didn't see each other that often, and Meghan very, very clearly made it clear that she felt lonely, that she was surviving, not thriving. Harry was even talking about relocation. All of these were rumours. The documentary showed how unhappy they are with royal life, hence the 6 weeks that they're taking as a sort of sabbatical. In my opinion, they're a dynamic royal duo in Diana's footsteps and could do so much both in Britain, in the Commonwealth, and in the wider world. And I hope and believe that is what they will decide to do in the next and the coming years. But it is up to them, and there are question marks.
Yes, and clearly they're taking this time to figure out what 2020 is going to look like for them. So there was also that frightening moment earlier this year involving Prince Phillip at the age of 97. He was driving a car alone, and he was involved in a car accident near the royal estate in Norfolk. A woman and her 9-month-old were in the other car. No one was seriously hurt, but it did lead to questions as to why he was still driving on his own.
Yes, indeed. And in fact, a grateful nation to begin with. The debate was, thank heavens, the Duke, a remarkable public servant, he's fine, he was able to walk away. And should people be driving at that age? And then the tone changed. Within 48 hours, he'd bought a new Land Rover, he was caught without a seatbelt, driving himself without a protection officer, and people really felt that the Duke, the Iron Duke, shall we say, had become the Duke of Hazard, and he surrendered his driving licence as well he should have. I mean, very, very clearly this wasn't well handled, and there was an injured party in the other car, though happily not badly injured.
But perhaps the biggest scandal facing the royal family this year involves Prince Andrew, with the arrest of financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein this year. Damning sexual misconduct allegations against the Duke of York came forward. And then there was that disastrous interview that he gave trying to defend himself. Richard, how much damage did this do to the royal family, and where do you see this going next?
It did a very great deal of damage to the royal family. They became, in fact, a distraction during a general election, which was absolutely pivotal, and even questions about the royals asked to the party leaders. It was embarrassing. If you saw the interview, it was absolutely excruciating. I mean, this was a car crash. It's ironic that the year began with one, and this was one of another sort. I can only describe it as of Krakatoan proportions, because the Duke showed absolutely no interest in or sympathy with Epstein's victims and seemed to be in his own world, pompous and extremely stupid, quite frankly. And I mean, he believed that he'd been honest, it seems, and been humble. He thought originally it had gone well. The whole thing has rumbled on subsequently. He's had to step down from royal duties, I quote, for the foreseeable future. That must mean forever. And quite frankly, where it will go now will depend on legal matters in the United States, perhaps in France, also on the possibility of Ghislaine Maxwell being found and conceivably brought to a court. The Duke of York has said he will cooperate with legal matters if required. We'll have to see what this leads to. But I mean, it has been awful. And I can only say that I just simply found it unbelievable that the woman, Amanda Thirsk, was his private secretary, who allowed this, and in fact, who spent months planning it. He didn't even know the questions he was going to be asked and couldn't have obviously answered them properly and made an idiot of himself. He has promoted her to the chief executive officer of Pitch at Palace, which is his entrepreneurship charity.
All right, Richard, just thank you so much for being with us as we look back on a busy year, shall we say, for the royal family. All the best in the new year.
Thank you, and to viewers.